Hello and welcome to Casting Views, a podcast with myself, Lou, and
Me, Dan.
where we take a subject about really absolutely anything and well cast some views on it. Before we get into the topic of this week's episode, I'm going to pass to you, Dan, because I know that you've got a bit of a promo to
We
give
have
to us.
another promo from some more friends of ours. This time it's the Talking Smack. That's SMAC, the Talking Smack podcast. Superheroes, movies, animations, and comics. Great podcast, really, if you want to get all your kind of like entertainment stuff. And so, like the last few episodes, they looked at and discussed the Book of Boba Fett, Godzilla, and kind of like what programs they want to reboot. So, yeah, really good one-stop shop for all things entertainment. So let's hear from them now.
Do you love comics, movies, video games, and more? We do too. Come tune in to Josh and our cast of colorful co-hosts on Talking Smack. Available on all your favorite podcasting platforms.
And we're back. What are we talking about this week, Lou?
Right, so our subject of choice this week is ways that we'd improve sports, I guess is the best way to do it. Now, or ways that we would change sports to make them more entertaining.
Make them more fun, yes.
Yeah,
Not to say that these are boring, so we're not going to alienate like a lot of our listenership. But yeah, the way I saw it was like, if we had a one-off exhibition, what would you want to see in that sport? Do you know what I mean?
yeah. So if we could turn around and change the rule set just to see how a sport would go,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're doing. I don't know if you want to start with the kickoff or if you want me to start with the kickoff. We might overlap with a couple of stupid ideas as well,
I think
which
I
is
think we'll
inevitable.
yeah, I think we'll overlap, right? So I'm happy to start. But what I want to say is the other caveat I've got on mine, some of these will break the sport, but I don't care about that. This is a fantasy scenario, right? Because some of these I was thinking about it, I was thinking, great. And then the logical part of my brain kicked in and said, yeah, you're gonna actually break the fundamental of the sport there. But who cares, right? Who cares? So we're bound to have some of the same in football, right? Or soccer.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing is we're probably not going to really touch on any American sports. I don't know because I haven't really touched on anything American in terms of like the baseball, your basketballs.
Actually, I did have basketball. Yeah, I've got basketball. I've got some athletic stuff as well. So,
Okay, fair
I-
enough.
well, let's start with basketball then, yeah, and you hear my view on that.
Right, go on then.
Okay. So, I was thinking in basketball, it could be potentially after like a 5 minute period or where every time basket score, but that could be a bit insane with the amount of baskets scored. So let's say after 5 minutes, I've got you change the ball used. So it could go from so say you score a basket, right? You
Right,
then the next one is a football, then it could be a tennis ball, then it could be
a bowling ball.
bowling ball. Yeah, I did think about that. Table tennis ball. So mix it up a little bit.
I actually don't mind that one. I mean, I don't know how the rules with dribbles and that sort of thing will work. I mean, I'm not a basketball aficionado, obviously, but yeah, I actually don't mind that one. I feel like you
Well,
could apply that to a lot of ball sports as well.
yeah, I mean, I was thinking it should be fine. I mean, I actually did think bowling ball, but yeah, the dribble isn't going to work there. You probably wouldn't want to be around for the rebound of that, right? So, so-
You don't want to be sitting in front row.
well, well, yeah. Well, I was thinking like a rugby ball or American football, but because that bounce is going to be crazy. Imagine trying to dribble that. But after 5 minutes, it's going to change. I think it'd be funny because, like with a tennis ball, you could probably try to score from the other baseline, right, or whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm thinking tennis, but because it's going to be easier to throw, right, a tennis
Yeah,
ball.
that's true. More accurate as well, I guess, with that single throw. Yeah, I can get on board with this one. I would like to see it done for a single. I would watch basketball
Yeah.
if that was the rule set.
Can you imagine that? Or just every game within reason, like let's take out the bowling ball there, but there's like a fancy little wheel that's spun at the start of a game, and that determines what ball you use.
Yeah, like the referees go over to the Wheel of Fortune, smack
Yeah.
it round, and then all of a sudden it's a tennis ball, it's a bowling ball, it's a.
Or could you imagine if, say, you go 10 points behind, the basket you've got to shoot in gets bigger? They can make it bigger, or they lower it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that would be actually a pretty tangible, decent improvement as well, to be fair.
But yeah, I was thinking that if you go behind a certain amount of points, you want to try bring the game back in. So yeah, make the baskets bigger or make it lower. Make them lower.
No, I like that one for basketball.
Yeah, so I know that was quick fire, but like I said, we've eased our American listeners in, so hopefully we've got them for the rest of the show now.
Yeah, yeah. Now they're just waiting for us to talk about baseball, so we'll save that one for the very end.
I'll quickly think of one. Well, I've got cricket, so maybe I'll just change it. It's kind of like baseball, right?
I could, you know what? I was trying to think about cricket, and I genuinely couldn't think of any ways that you could make cricket more exciting apart from setting stuff on fire. Ball on fire, stumps on fire, umpire on fire.
I did have fire in one of mine actually, so let's see where it is. Okay, cool. What have you got? So let's start with one.
Okay, I tell you what, I've got fighting, so I've got like your mixed martial arts, your boxing, that sort of thing.
Okay,
And
let's
my
hear it.
idea, and technically this kind of does exist around the world, no weight classes.
Okay.
So you could just fight whoever you want, and or the other theory in my head is that as long as the person that you're fighting, so let's say you get a big heavyweight like Tyson Fury,
Yeah.
as long as you meet the same weight requirements, there can be two fighters on the opposite side of the ring. So let's say
Yeah.
Tyson Fury weighs 18 stone. If you've got two fighters that weigh 9, they can both fight Tyson Fury.
It's like that those conundrums you hear. Would you rather face like one I don't know, like one giant duck or 100 tiny little ducks or something? It's a similar sort of thing you're
Yeah, a
saying. So
duck-sized elephant or or a
that's it.
duck-sized elephant.
Yeah,
A duck-sized elephant?
duck-sized elephant or an
No,
elephant-sized duck.
yeah,
No.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something like that. I know that we've been definitely
Yeah.
gypped because people are going to be like, no, that's not how it is.
It's
But yeah,
fantasy.
like, could you imagine like a 265 or 300 pound Brock Lesnar just mauling down on Floyd Mayweather, or on two Floyd Mayweathers?
I like the idea of the no weight limit because you'd think, oh man, what a mismatch. But then it's that classic nimbleness v raw power potentially.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they do like these. I guess they're considered like freak show fights in Japan, and especially in the UFC. I think it was Pride was the promotion that they used to do it in, and I think if I remember rightly, his name was Emmanuel Yarborough, and he fought this tiny dude. He was like 500 pounds. He was a mountain of a man,
Yeah.
and he fought this dude who literally looked like a rake next to him. No word of lie. He actually ended up losing because he hit the floor and couldn't get up.
Oh, really?
So he'd fallen over, and then this little dude just starts pummeling his face in, and he taps out.
But that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you hit on actually a good point. I mean, you could have a lot of slender people that maybe are able to channel quite a bit of power into punches or kicks. So, it's not necessarily about that big, brawny or, sort of muscly power, is it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This is the thing. I think it'd be cool to see because you could also see like fighting styles as to who was really, really technically gifted if they could beat someone up that's bigger than them. And then also, I thought, with boxing,
Yeah.
I think there should. So obviously, I don't understand the way that the boxing belts work. I know there's WBC, IBO, WBO, fucking AK-47, yeah, all of that bullshit, right? But there should be a title which is like a survival title. So do you know, like you play Spec Ops on Call of Duty, or you used to play
Oh,
Spec Ops,
yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
wave
Yeah.
after wave.
Yeah.
What you do is you just have to survive a round with as many boxers as possible. So after every round, a new boxer comes in who's fresh, and then you have to survive that round, and the champion of this title is the one that survives the most rounds.
Yeah, it's like the Royal Rumble, but it's one you have to stay the constant. It's what number you could get to. So maybe it's a case if you've defeated 10 opponents, the person to take the title is the one who can defeat 11 the next time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly the way that I do it. So imagine Tyson Fury, and you've just got 13 heavyweights outside the ring lined up to do a round each with him, just to see how long he can go. I think it'd be brilliant. I think any one of the changes would be fantastic. Or maybe if we were doing the 2-on-1 idea, where let's say two fighters weigh 10 stone each, and then another one weighs 20 stone. Maybe it's like a tag team, so you tag in
Yeah,
and out. So you're like,
that
okay,
would
I'm
be
going to do three
better.
rounds. You'll do 3 rounds. I'll do 3 rounds. But
That
yeah,
would
I
be
think
better.
there's
Could you
so
imagine
many
a tag
ways.
team in boxing? That'd be great.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, or again, even if we're changing it, like team fighting in boxing, you just go, it's just a pair of boxers that get in their own stable, and they just knock seven bells out of each other.
See, the only thing I was toying with the idea. I agree with you. Any one of these would work because, and I think boxing has got boring
Yeah,
in
I
recent
agree.
years. It's maybe, well, I was going to say maybe it's old man talking, but yeah, you've said it the same. You don't seem to have you get the odd one or two that come along, like Tyson Fury's a character,
Yeah,
but there
yeah.
seems to be no either real characters anymore or real, for me anyway, box office draws. And let's not get drawn into it. The fact we said in an episode that a fight between two YouTubers has got more than any other thing says it all, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. This is true. But yeah, I mean, I think I would be happy to put forward any of those. I don't know if how you get boxing sanctioned, like if you can just create your own championship and just invite
That's
Tyson
good. We
Fury and
just have.
Anthony
You
Joshua
just
along.
have.
Yeah, yeah, maybe we should do
You
it.
just have.
So Frank Warren, if you're interested, or Eddie Hearn, if you're interested, give us an email at castingviewspod at gmail.com. We'll pitch the ideas to you and we'll see if we can get something in place.
Well, I was thinking, I was toying with the idea of boxing, but I was thinking of again, a lot of things are going to be about different sizes. I'll let that sit in your mind. But it's like I was thinking of different size gloves or different gloves. Like they could have, obviously they'd have to be extra padded, but like oven gloves, you could use oven gloves, or like the big foam fingers you get at events. You could have like versions of those. You're hitting people with the foam fingers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or maybe it's like a roulette draw. Like, do you know the film Battle Royale? They get a
yeah,
bag and it's got a weapon in it. Someone
yeah.
gets a bin lid. Like, someone gets an MMA glove and you get like one of the, do you know, toy Hulk gloves from
Yeah, yeah,
that you used
yeah,
to get from Woolworths
yeah,
or something?
yeah. Or like the marigolds that you used to do your washing up. You're slapping people with the marigolds. I mean,
It's not
that's
far off what the UFC was originally, to be
oh,
honest with
really,
you. Yeah, yeah,
really.
yeah. There was like fights with people with one boxing glove on versus like jujitsu specialists. It was hilarious, hilarious
Yeah.
time.
So my contribution to the change of boxing is different gloves or sizes of gloves as well. So,
Boxing would be better off with us.
yeah, yeah.
Right, have you got any more fighting talk or no?
No, I haven't got fighting talk or anything of fighting. I've got. I'm going to do a random one here. I had snooker, right? Oh, I've got two for snooker actually. One was each frame, one of the cushions would randomly become like a pinball machine bumper. So if a ball hits it, it will just come off at extra speed. Now, I was thinking about this, and this is where it could break it. I was thinking you'd probably just then see balls flying around, for want of a better thing, for ages. So it would have to only be active for maybe for 30 seconds. No, maybe 10 seconds, because at the start of a snooker match, there are so many balls on the table. Chances are, if one starts pinging off at 20 miles an hour, it's going to bounce another one. So I was thinking, yeah, and you wouldn't know at the start of the frame, and maybe during the frame it changes the cushion which it is, because snooker normally when it's a big event I can watch a couple of frames here or there, but it's like it's where they do the snookers and they're so defensive play, and I'm like,
Yeah,
if you mixed it up and made like one of them a pinball machine bumper, yeah, that they ain't playing safe with that anymore. So,
yeah. That's the thing as well. Maybe with snooker as well, like leading on from the boxing thing. Like, there's no more Higgins, no more like Ronnie O'Sullivan is come to the end of his career as well. Like, you look at characters in snooker, there's just nothing knocking about either, is there really? So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I can get on board with the pinball one. I would just make all of the cushion pinball cushions.
Yeah, but then you'd break and you'd probably win from the break, because everything would just go, the balls would just go, around. I mean, maybe thinking about it, maybe we should also make it more like a pub or a local snooker hall. So your cues, they take them from one of the local pubs. They're not like the professional cues, they're going to be scratched up. Some are going to be shorter than the others. The table could be scratched up, sort of beer
Yeah,
stains
yeah,
on it,
yeah. I don't mind that one. I've
cigarette
got.
burns.
I've thought of one with snooker, and it's more an etiquette one as opposed to anything else. I think we should let the audience chant.
Yeah, let them get
So
noisy.
it's obviously supposed to be silent, but in like
Yeah.
football, for instance, a goalkeeper's taking a free kick. Imagine a snooker player's teeing up a shot, and then as soon as he strikes it, you just say, "Ah, you shit bastard."
Well, I was thinking, if darts can play with basically what amounts to a football crowd behind them, so can snooker. I had one more with snooker, and and this is the first one we're going to introduce alcohol, was if you lose a frame, you have to take a shot before the next one.
It's just drinking game snooker.
Yeah, so basically, you lose a frame, you have to take a shot of tequila or vodka or whiskey or something. So
You just progressively get more shit as you go along.
yeah, so that really has got to one, it's got to focus you on being good, but two, if obviously during a match someone you think you're both going to lose a frame. It'd be great to see like both of them end up totally, pissed at the end of it, and like there's going to be more shots digging up the felt of the table than there is in the cue ball.
Thing is, though, the darts players do that by choice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, snooker they did used to drink. They did used to have like pints while while they were playing, but it then looked bad. So now they drink bottled water.
Yeah, it's always water in it, nothing
Yeah,
else. Nothing
probably
else.
fresh from a spring in a mountain when it used to be pints of Carlsberg.
Warm.
Yeah. It then also got me thinking about pool. I don't know if you had anything about pool,
No, nothing about pool.
but they do professional pool. What I was thinking is, and this I don't know if this is a traditionally British thing. So anyone listening, sort of over the pond, let us know. Is anyone from the crowd could stick a pound on the table to challenge the winner? Yeah, like we do here, you put a pound on the table at the pub. So winner stays on, but people from the crowd could put a pound on the table and challenge you.
Don't mind that one either, to be fair.
So yes, how about that then? Would you watch that if either A, they were getting pissed as the game went on, or two, there was a random pinball bumper on one of the cushions?
Yeah, I like the pinball bumper idea. I don't mind that at all. I think that one's pretty brilliant, to be fair.
Brilliant. God, we're knocking these sporting things. Anyone I don't know, is sporting rule maker a thing? Come follow us.
Did you do tennis?
No, do you know what? I was trying to think of tennis, but I just couldn't think of one. So let's hear it.
Now, I think this legitimately makes tennis better because I think it makes it more competitive.
Okay,
But
go
it's
for
got
it.
to be difficult to implement practically. So every time you win a set,
Yeah.
game, set, match. Yeah. So every
Yeah.
time you win a set,
Yeah.
the opponent, so if you're winning, your opponent's section of the court gets smaller. So you have a smaller area to strike the ball into, basically. So by the end of it, it's basically the size of one of the sides of the court, if that makes sense. And that's to help balance the sport out, that is. So what they do is after each set, someone comes out with a new bit of chalk and they come and chalk a new area off, and you all of a sudden have a smaller area to aim the ball into.
So if you then win the set, does it go back to being normal, or does your opponent's side get smaller?
No, your opponent's side gets smaller.
Wow, that'd be quite interesting actually. Yeah, because the set is fair enough because it's not like after every game. It's because that'd be crazy. They'd be playing on a
Yeah,
stamp
they'd be
then,
paying for
wouldn't
ages as
they?
well, wouldn't they? But yeah, I think after every set, I think you could get away with that.
Yeah, and that could easily be done because don't even have to do with the chalk. The lines could be, you could have it mounted on like a roller outside, or you could create new grounds, and the lines would just move and restrict with the.
Or, sorry, I'm like gesturing, and I
So you put
realise that
your
people
hand
can't
up
see me.
there.
Yeah,
It's like, no, you
like an
don't need to
alien.
ask a
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
And for people, I'm gesturing with my hand up, moving down, like project the lines onto the ground, like with a computer, and then you can move them shorter. So all of a sudden, Roger Federer is sat there 3 sets ahead, and now can't win a single point because his opponent's box is way smaller.
It'd be brilliant because at one point you'd have to make sure though that you could at least fit the player and the tennis ball in in the size of the court if you're getting hammered. Yeah.
But all of a sudden, at the end of the game, let's say both of them were really good. Let's say they're equal on sets, and you're how many sets do they play in male tennis? Is it 5?
It's five, best of five. Yeah.
5, and then you have to win by 2 clear ones.
Yes, you do. But then, if it goes to the fifth one, then it's in a tie break, isn't it?
Yeah. So if it gets to the 5th one, all of a sudden you've basically got 2 tennis players playing tennis on a table tennis surface.
Yeah. Well, no, I like this. But what you probably could do is, like in a singles match, the side ones are out, aren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe you start with them as in,
Yeah.
and
And then you
then you
get rid of
take
them.
one out. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that as well. See, I think it's brilliant. I think you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
away with it really, really. I think it would way improve tennis. The other thing as well, leading on from that, is again, and this has been a little bit broken with the Australian Open. Did you see anything with the Australian Open recently?
No, I don't think I did.
Obviously, and no offense to anybody that does play and or watch tennis. Tennis is a bit of a pretentious sport, if we're being honest. It's
Oh,
sponsored by Rolex
I
and
like tennis.
Evian.
I
Like, it's a
like
very
tennis.
premium. No, I like tennis as well.
Yeah.
I think tennis is a brilliant spectator sport, but it is a bit pretentious. And I feel like the Australian audiences at the Australian Open they've given me this idea, number one. And again, that's kind of where it came from with the snooker as well. I don't know if you know, but the Australian audiences were just going, "Soo," like after
Oh,
every
are they?
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were making really, really loud noises. And obviously, tennis is always a very calm, quiet in the
Yeah.
stands. So we can
Yeah.
have our time. And I just think it would be, again, absolutely brilliant if the etiquette was broken and people just did whatever they want. Like you've got the British fans with the drums going, duh,
Yeah.
duh, 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 duh,
The,
duh,
dru-
duh.
the trumpet, yeah.
Because it's true. I think, footballers have to take penalties with
Yeah.
80,000 people booing them in a football stadium. You cannot tell me that the 3,000 or 4,000 people watching tennis players play can't tee a ball off with someone shouting.
Wait till we get to football. I've got the perfect answer to that scenario. But yeah, bring vuvuzelas to the tennis court.
Yeah, vuvuzelas. God, could you imagine all of a sudden, like you
Do you
again,
remember that?
just about to serve, and you just hear.
Yeah, that is the thing about tennis. It's great because, like I said, it's so quiet. Then after a point, the crowd know that's their moment, so they go mad for about those 30 seconds, don't they? And then it's like, quiet, please, quiet, please.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, "I love you, Roger."
Yeah, will you marry me? But the only thing is, as well, it's a bit like what you said, because potentially you could again maybe do it another way. So, for instance, you said about changing the balls in basketball.
Yeah,
How about in tennis, you change the rackets? So you start with a tennis racket. If you win your set, you get a badminton racket.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you win your set, you get a table tennis paddle.
yeah. Well, I kind of had that. I might as well lump it in now. I kind of had that with cricket. I've had cricket. You can use different things for bats and different things for balls. So if you're streaking ahead, you could use a tennis racket.
No, but surely a tennis racket gives you good leverage. See, I feel if you're making the sport more interesting and fun, you want to give that to the opponent that's losing.
Yeah, but a tennis racket against a cricket ball, that could be
Yeah,
fun.
that's true, actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or it's just turning around and saying you have an exhibition where it's cricket, but you aren't allowed to use any cricket equipment. So somebody comes with a tea foul pan instead
Yeah.
to tee
Yeah,
off
yeah,
with,
yeah.
like that sort of thing. Or it's stuff that the audience will bring.
Actually, no, do you know what? Something's come to mind for me for tennis. I'm thinking more about kind of when I was younger, because I used to love playing tennis. But what kind of rules could you introduce to help out? And it's like maybe two bounce rule. You can let it bounce twice, or you can hit it as long as it's still bouncing. So you might have missed it. If someone's aced you, but if it's hit the back and it's still bouncing, as long as you can get under it to hit it back, maybe you can do that until it's literally stopped bouncing. You've got until
that
then to hit it.
that reminds me of, do you know, table tennis tournaments when they get really into it and there's like people going outside of the arena, like barriers where they're sat, like to knock a table tennis ball back.
Yeah.
Again, I think we've just improved tennis.
I'd watch any I'd watch any one of those, especially see someone chasing it around, waiting for it. Has it stopped bouncing? Has it stopped bouncing? And maybe make the lines double the size, so there's less chance of it being out.
Yeah, yeah, you got double wide courts.
Yeah.
Right, go on then. What's your next one?
Well, let's keep on a similar theme. I've got table tennis,
Okay.
and I've got that the table rotates as you're playing. so, or the people do. So imagine imagine the table is on a rotating disc,
Yeah.
or the table stationary, but everything around that is on a rotating disc. Basically, something's going to spin, and it's either the table or the people. But can you imagine? Could you imagine that? It'd be like you said, because they're so great that they've got to you know, the table then at some one point will be wider than it is longer for you. So you're trying to hit it back. So it doesn't matter then ultimately what side of the net is going to bounce on. Take the net away. Hell, take the net away. What's the net's just stopping the ball, right?
You've just got people just levering ping pong balls at each other.
Yeah. Or you then could also then mix it up with maybe replace it with a dining table or a snooker table. You know, there's so many possibilities. Why hasn't this been done?
Or again, like I said, even in terms of the bats, you can just turn around and be like, you have to use something that can come on your person. So you've got someone using a trainer, someone else turning around. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that video where it's those two guys that have linked that video and they're hitting a table tennis ball across from each other. It's really quite funnily edited. And
Yeah,
then one of
yeah.
them uses the bottle, then one of them's got a
That's right.
toaster,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
another one just throws a chair or something. Um,
I mean,
Stuff like that would be
to be
brilliant.
fair, when you see pro table tennis is actually quite, it's actually quite an exciting sport when you see two pros going at it, for want of a better term. But yeah, I'm just thinking you make something spin, and I think it's going to be the table. There's- and then you can obviously change the speed of that, and that's obviously going to affect the bounce of the ball. It's either that or you've again. I was thinking around changing the ball, but I thought I've already kind of done that elsewhere with the basketball. So
Yeah, it'd be difficult to find anything that you could use with a table tennis ball as well, because I feel like they're quite unique in the way that they're built.
yeah, or maybe they have like it's got to be gentle, obviously, but they have gentle fans blowing at certain points, so they've got to take in the wind factor. Of
Oh, that would be amazing. So let's just say, for instance, you have a coin toss, and then a player decides which way the fan blows. So you
yeah,
can either blow
yeah,
it from behind you, from in front of you, from left to right, from right to left, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you've got like wind effect.
because again, if footballers are doing this, I mean, I've been to a non-league game where they've kicked the ball up and it literally hasn't left where
It's
they've
just
kicked it.
stayed
Yeah,
stationary in the
yeah,
air.
yeah, it stays stationary. So yeah, why can't it be applied to other sports? Yeah,
I love how basically the general consensus in this podcast is football's way harder than everything else.
yeah, soccer.
Soccer, sorry, is way harder than everything else.
All right, what have you got? Have you
Okay,
got
now
football? Should we touch football? Should we get football out of the way?
okay, let's go to football. Now, I feel like this isn't necessarily a rule change. However, I feel like it would definitely, well, it is a rule change. So, do you know in ice hockey, where all of a sudden a player will barge someone and then they're just like, that's it, not having this bullshit, gloves on the ice, helmet on the ice, and they just lamp each other.
Yeah,
I reckon when players dive, the ref should just turn around and let them get on with it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then whoever turns around and is still standing, you just sin bin the one that lost.
Yeah, yeah, because this is where we will agree that football isn't great in is that a player gets touched and then they roll, 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 scream, roll a
Yeah.
bit more, look up, see they've got the free kick, stand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like in an instance where players have gone down, someone should have to go off, whether it's the person that's faked it or the person that's done it. So I feel like the referee should just turn around and allow them the moment to go for it and just let both fans cheer them on until someone hits the ground.
Well, that's it. Well, I actually thought you were going to say just allow fights or dirty play because in the sense of like you see them literally and obviously barge people out the way. I'm thinking, yeah, just open it up. Open it up, say, it's contact sport, go for it.
Yeah,
Have
I
at it.
agree. Just sack off the red and yellow cards.
Yeah, yeah. Because there used to be an old like arcade football game where you could like pull players and stuff like that. You pull their shirts or you kick them and punch them. Maybe that's what we should go to. Video game football.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I just think that it would cut out a lot of the nonsense in football. I also think less players would dive. Are you telling me Jamie Vardy is going to dive and hit the floor if he's got to fight Virgil van Dijk? There's no chance. There's no chance it's happening. So he won't dive. So you improve football instantly. Are you telling me that who's a really small weedy player, Eric Lamella? I don't like him. Do you think Eric Lamella? Do you reckon Eric Lamella is going to dive if all of a sudden he's got to fight Giorgio Chiellini? No chance. Of course not. So I think you cut out diving and also you give the fans what they want to see, which is proper contact. Because Chiellini's just got to stand up and be like, well, we have to fight
Oh,
now.
that's a sensible one, but it's a sensible one that actually does improve the sport, like you say. So
Yeah, it's true. Like in ice hockey, they genuinely do take their helmets off, knock the shit out of each other, and then continue like it was nothing. They're like, yeah, all
yeah,
right. Even in
it
rugby, they have fights and then they'll
it
get a
is
yellow card, a
frustrating.
warning, maybe.
Yeah, it is frustrating when you're then looking at rugby and they're playing with half an ear hanging off and stuff like that, and they're just getting on with it, or they're being stamped on the head with the boots, and they just get up and carry on. Where like you said, we've seen the classic thing. Do you remember the who was it? It was Rivaldo, wasn't it? Where
Yeah.
somebody kicks the ball, it hits him in the knee, and he goes down clutching his face, doesn't
Yeah, I
he?
think that was Turkey in the 2002 World Cup, I think.
So yeah, yeah. Then you open it up. No, absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just think ice hockey style fighting in football.
That'd definitely get the crowd going, let's say that. But I think that would work. I think that would work.
Well, the thing
Um,
is, as well, I feel like it would stop football hooliganism as well. Because what the fans would do is they'd just be getting all of their pent up aggression. The players would be doing it for them.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Although, yeah, there'd have to be a study in that. I none of mine are sensible. So you've actually
What
done
about
done the
football players just actively having brawls is the most
yeah,
sensible one that
well,
we've got.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
just letting them fuck each other up
but
is
it's
the
but
best.
it's yeah, yeah, okay, fair point. But no, it's actually addressing a problem. That's what I like. Because, like we said, in and of itself, football isn't uninteresting. But this is one, and remember at the start, I said this is going to fundamentally break the game. This one is, so forget about it. It's going to be for an exhibition, or I don't want to know how it breaks the game. I just want to know how much more interesting it'll be, right? So imagine this: you've got, let's say, Barcelona against Leicester,
Okay.
right? But before the kickoff, the squad line up against the wall, and it's like school rules. Each manager picks a player from the complete lineup of players. So for that game, you could pick the Barcelona forward and the goalie. It's like school, and then you see who's the
Yeah.
most popular or who gets left to the end.
It's almost like a little bit like a draft, but on an individual game basis. So let's say you had a game in the Premier League. Each Premier League, the manager would just have to pick off 22 players.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know about the game because, like, why would a striker score against this team? But like, no, you'd only get paid. This is what I'm saying. This would be for an exhibition. You'd only get paid if you actually played well. You couldn't like throw the game. But yeah, and it would be funny because it would be like, right, which players are obviously shit, so they get picked last.
Eric
Imagine
Lamella.
you, yeah, imagine the embarrassment of being picked last,
Harry
and then it
Maguire.
would, yeah. And then yeah, that would be really great. It would be like, yeah, you would just have a complete mix. If you had, yeah, Barcelona, Real Madrid, you could see your favorite sort of striker playing for the other team for that game.
Yeah, I like that. It's a little bit like the draft, I guess, in America with like football, like American football, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it would be fun. It would make it more relatable to like how it used to be at school, and then make me think, well, if uh, if Eric Lamella can be picked last, then it was no shame on me being picked last, you know?
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot, actually.
Oh, I've got a semi-serious one,
Right, go on
if
then.
you
Give
want.
me a semi-serious one.
We hate like draws, nil-nil draws. We hate or teams that play negatively to see out a point,
Yeah.
right? I've got if you draw, you actually get minus points.
Ah, okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, anyone who doesn't know, if you lose, you get 0 points. If you win a match, you get 3 points. But if you draw, you get a point each. So I'm saying that if you draw, you get maybe minus 2 points, both teams.
yeah. Or even if it was just minus a point,
Yeah, yeah, minus point. But can you imagine how?
aggressively teams would come out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, if someone at the end of the season is massively ahead, it wouldn't matter. But at the start, everyone's playing for those points, whereas now you want to win.
Do you know what I want to do now that you've said that? I want to go back and look to see if the Premier League results would have been any different or any significantly different if draws were worth minus a point. Because like Arsenal's invincible team, for instance, drew like 12 or 13 games in that season,
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that one. I actually think that that one's actually plausible as well because it's a little bit like the way. I mean, we've got rid of it now, but you know the Champions League away goal rule.
Yes,
It's a
yeah,
little bit like how that played. Like that was intended to make away teams come out and have the want to get on the front foot because they needed to score an away goal. And we've lost that a little bit now for again the Americans that are listening in the Champions League, which is like Europe's top footballing competition. All the winners of the retrospective like European leagues all play each other. A goal that you score not in your own stadium used to be worth more. It used to be worth like
yeah,
1.1 goals, didn't it? Basically.
yeah, yeah. It was basically whoever scored the most or the more away goals because it was seen as a harder thing to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, so like if you drew 3-3, but you scored two away from, or you scored two away from home, and your opponent only scored one away from home, you would
Yeah,
win
yeah.
basically. But yeah, no, I like that one. I
There's,
like
I
that one
mean,
a lot.
yeah, there's issues. You'd have to work out like I'd have to put something in place so if you went a goal up, you couldn't just put all 10 men sort of in the box to stop the other team scoring. So you'd have to put a rule in. But yeah, definitely if to stop any sort of nil-nils, and maybe it's more if it's a nil-nil draw or you say nil-nil 1-1. But yeah, a draw gives you a minus point.
Oh, but the only problem that I see practically, what do you get if you lose?
No, I think it's still the same. I think if you lose, you just get the 0 point. I've not sorted this out, but the aim is because if you lose, the other team has played better than you. But a draw is often two teams settling for a draw. Like in the World Cup or the Euros, you'd have to bring in a different punishment. Maybe you add more time, but we've seen teams collude in group matches to get another
Yeah.
team knocked out.
West Germany did it with like Mexico or someone, didn't they, or something
Yeah.
like that?
Well, I remember it was either a World Cup or a Euros where there was one result in a group. And again, I know this because Italy was in that group. The other game, in the last game, there was one score line between the other two teams that if it was that particular score, it would have knocked Italy out. And it was that one particular score. And it wasn't like a 1-0, it was something like a 3-3 or something
Yeah.
like that. So it will stop, you do that. So maybe you do in a tournament in a knockout stage, if it was a draw, you add 5 minutes to the game. You keep adding time because someone has to score. You
Yeah. Yeah.
can't do a draw.
Yeah. I get you.
So no, so I think you'd still get 0 points because you've lost, but you've not been negative then. You've been negative if you've drawn a match, I'd say.
But I'm sure there's ways that you can make that work practically as well.
Yeah, unless you so here we go. Unless you've drawn level in like the last 2 minutes because you can't help that then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but anyway, now I'm starting to think too deeply about this. You get negative points if you draw a game there.
Right. Okay. I've got one that I think is fair, and technically this was a rule at one point. I'm pretty certain in the early days of football.
Okay.
No offsides. No
Yeah,
offsides.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
You just turn around and say you can do exactly what you like. Because I think that the way football used to work is like now you line up with like a 4-4-2, for instance, or like it's the most basic formation in the world, isn't it? But you used to line up with like a WM formation, which I think was like a 3-2-2-3. And that
Right.
was because you used to sit with like more forwards and less defenders sitting back, because it actually promoted attacking play without offsides.
Yeah, yeah.
Because teams would be willing to lump players forward, and that's the way you had to play it. I feel like nowadays you'd just make football more interesting. You just get great score lines. It'd be like, we see whenever you look at a country's biggest victory, right? It's always 1950s,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
like
because rules were different.
I like that. Do you remember we used to call them like goal hangers at school? That's what
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
want. Yeah, I don't care if it gets more goals. Yeah, yeah, get rid of the offside. The offside rule is one of the most frustrating rules because it's like even now, and I get it's if that's the law, that's the law. But it's like now just a toenail has to be offside.
yeah, yeah.
And you're talking about those margins, or you've got to at least be able to get like a car through the gap before someone is offside, you know? what I mean? So what they could do is if it's ruled offside with the technology, they can make the players stand in exactly the positions where they were, and they get a tape measure, and they measure it, or they see can they get a car through that gap, or a wheelie bin or something. I don't know, but yeah, the offside is awful, is awful.
See, I think with the no offside rule and the minus points for a draw, all of a sudden it'd be 8-4.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
16-1. It
yeah,
would be.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm definitely for that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, and that's not a silly thing either, but it would actually make it work.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it would work.
yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. One other one that I had, and this was with respect to extra time in tournaments.
yeah,
So with the way that it works, for instance, in a World Cup, if it goes to extra time, that's it. You play your extra time, it goes to penalties.
yeah.
So there's no two legs or anything in tournaments. So what
Okay.
if we turned around and said, you do extra time, but in extra time, in order to make the game more vulnerable to everyone, a player has to come off. And then what we do is a single player comes off every 5 minutes in the 30 minutes of extra time until you're left with, what would it be, 5 players or 4 players. And then after that, then it will still go to penalties.
I'm with you on that because I've got removed players, but I had it under a different way. So I had one of two things. Either if you go 2 goals ahead, the leading side has a player taken off.
Yeah.
And I kind of was applying that to American football. I was thinking, what can you do for American football? I was probably thinking the same thing, like 2 touchdowns, whatever. Or actually linking back to the draw, if it's a draw, and it's especially if it's a 0-0 draw and it's been like that for 20 minutes, a random player from each side gets taken off, but it's randomly drawn. So it could be the goalie, it
Yeah.
could be the
Yeah.
striker.
Yeah.
but yeah, I was with you on that you've got to mix it up somehow, and it's either a leading team, if they're really dominating, has a player removed, or if the teams are level at a certain point, there's a button pressed and you get a player from each side, but you don't know which one has to come off.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I like that one as well. Imagine that turning around and you've got to take off a midfielder, but your opponents take the goalkeeper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or imagine, you've just signed, say, City have signed Harry Kane for like 150 million pounds, and then in like the crunch game, he gets taken off. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know that there would be certain teams that would be favoured by the referees that were responsible for randomly selecting the players, wouldn't you?
I've got two more for football. Have you got
Okay,
any?
yeah, go on then. We'll
Right.
hear your two next.
I was going to say, I don't know. I was going to say I'll start with the least stupid one first, but they're both pretty stupid, I think. But well, again, it's for a draw. I think I've really must have been affected by negative teams in the past. You introduce a second football, multi-ball.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one as well. I like that one as well.
So yeah, so again, it's got to be. I don't know. There's if there's a period of 20 minutes and a goal hasn't been scored, you chuck an extra ball on the pitch, and they're both in play.
Hang on a minute. I've got an even. We could do collaboration here. We can do
Oh yeah, go
collaboration.
go on, go
Let's
on.
take your Wheel of Fortune idea. Let's say a game goes to extra time. The
Yeah, yeah.
referee spins the Wheel of Fortune, and then over the tannoy, the announcer goes, "And this extra time will be played with multi-ball," or it will be, or it'll be losing a man every 5 seconds, or golden goal, or
Oh, and you know what you can then do? Like on Sky or BBC, you've got the red button. You could press the red button to get commentary on a specific football. So you
yeah.
could have like a pair of commentators doing football A and another pair of commentators doing football B. And then imagine like after another 20 minutes, there still isn't a goal scored. Another one comes on the pitch.
I like that one as well. I like that one as
All
well.
right, so I had that, and this last one addresses you. You remember what you said about penalties. So obviously, in an important match, it goes to penalties, and you've got the horrific thing of one team is always taking it in the away end. So you've seen it. You've seen like thousands of fans waving, gesturing, swearing, trying to put a striker off. And imagine then the goalie, right? He's got to have that behind him. I was thinking if it goes to penalties. Oh, and also you've got like the fun and games. Like I'm sure I've seen it may not have been Ronaldo, probably do a disservice where they try to scuff up the penalty spot before like a penalty and stuff like that. So many factors can put off a player. I think it gets to penalties. The two managers then go into the stadium, like into a room. They load up FIFA with their two teams and they do a penalty shootout against each other on FIFA with their squad. So, and then that is broadcast on the big screen in the stadium.
I thought you were going to say pick fans out of the crowd.
No. No, the two managers use their squad on FIFA and they take a penalty shootout on FIFA that's broadcast to the stadium. Actually, no, I like that. I think that's my favourite idea. Do you know what? I've thought about this for many years. That's how I thought it should be done.
Or do you know what? Again, this is only coming off of the back of your idea. Or with penalties, because the players haven't been able to settle it. When it comes to penalties, it's the coaching staff. So you've got the physio has to take a pen, the doctor has to take a pen, the manager has to take a pen.
Yeah, or they find the fan in the crowd that's the loudest. Oh, I would have scored that, and you go on then. You're right, you're taking it. But yeah, FIFA for penalties. That's what I've got. So
I like that one. I've got one more for football, and again, I have to say that
okay.
this was inspired. I think it was by FIFA like 07 or something. It might have been a PES game, but I can't remember specifically. And in that, you could enable like custom modes. So what you could do
Yeah.
is basically you could put invisible walls up the sides of the pitch so that the ball never went out of play. So let's just say we erected gigantic like chicken wire fences just so that the ball was in play 90 minutes. You had full 90 minutes of football. Because at the minute, when you watch a game of football, the ball's only in play for like 50 minutes.
Out of 90, yeah, it's
Out of
unreal,
90.
isn't it? Yeah,
So
yeah.
unless the ball goes in the back of the net, the ball is always in play.
Yeah, so it's kind of like basically it's five-a-side, isn't it?
Yeah, but
On a
on grand
bigger,
scale
yeah,
picture.
yeah,
You
yeah,
might have to
yeah.
make the walls like padded and stuff because obviously players run quite quick. They're getting barged
No,
into,
that
you know,
that
make
that
it safe. But...
no. That then links into your first one about the argy bargy. No, let them be tough all.
Oh yeah. You know what? Yeah, ignore it. No, concrete walls.
Yeah, yeah. With spikes.
Like a moat.
Yeah. With catapults either side. Yeah, no, I really like that. I actually thought you were going to say with FIFA that you basically just have loud music playing. You have like Blur Song 2 or something playing during the match. Yeah, or someone gets picked in the crowd and it's their custom Spotify list that's playing over. I think we've taken a very good sport and made it superb.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's much more revolutionary, and I actually think that when the future humans are listening to this in 400 years' time, I think that that's genuinely how football will be played.
Yeah, so the FA, FIFA, UEFA, is it CONCACAF, whoever, if, hit us up.
Yeah,
We've
yeah. We all
we've
know
got
that you're corrupt anyway, so we'll provide you some cash.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a revolutionary idea. Take bribery out of football or corruption out of
Yeah,
football.
yeah. Could
Yeah.
you imagine? My God,
Oh, that's the worst. That's the stupid idea of all.
it's the least plausible one.
Yeah. Well, what else you got? You got anything else?
I've got nothing more for football.
No, no, nothing more football. But let's hear
Okay.
another one then.
Right, so I've got one. Now, this relates to the Olympics, and this one is
Okay.
much more of a general one. So, this applies to basically every sport in the Olympics.
Okay. Okay.
So, again, this is inspired by, do you know the fact that there's that 15-year-old ice skater? If you don't know and you're listening to this, obviously the Winter Olympics have been on recently. There was that 15-year-old Olympic ice skater that was done for like doping, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, she was then cleared, I think,
Oh,
because it
yeah,
was a
cleared.
mix-up or something. But yeah.
Yeah. Let everyone take drugs. Let everyone take steroids. Imagine you've got world record Usain Bolt's 9.38 or 9.47 or whatever it is. All of a sudden, you've got some bloke doing it in 7.4 seconds.
And they've not stopped running. They've
And
left
they've
the
not, and
stadium.
then
And
they
they're
get to the
still
end of the
going.
stage, they're just absolutely hammering it. You've got some bloke on a bike and he looks like Roadrunner going around a
Yeah,
velodrome.
you're going round the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm being serious because we all know that the top tier athletes in a lot of sports all take drugs. I think that we should just make it fair across the board and let them all take drugs and just say, yeah, we want you to take steroids. Why not?
I like what you're going for there. I think there'll be some objection from some groups, but I like what you're going. But yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine that? It's like the starter pistol's gone and they've already finished it. Yeah.
But imagine you'd get swimmers that look like fucking jet skis in the water.
There'd probably be no water left because their arms are so strong and their legs they're splashing all the water out. I've got two or three, but this is where I kind of really delved into the world of the totally unrealistic, if any of ours have been before. So again, I'm going to start with probably the better one is for the long jump or even the triple jump. Well,
Yeah.
I've got the end is they use a trampoline. So you know, so,
Yeah.
so you know they've got that little white bar that's what they're supposed to jump off. But
Yeah.
especially, I've got like a little or a springboard. They've got it's a pad of some sort that propels them.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one because then you've got people legitimately traveling like 20 feet in the air.
Yeah, so you know, like I don't know, like in Mario Kart, those little speedy square things that you drive over that give you a turbo boost, or in a lot of car, kind of something like that. You hit a trampoline or a little bouncy pad, and that gives you a little bit more elevation. Yeah, and I was thinking I'll put long jump, but yeah, you could technically use that for the triple jump. Yeah, I think that'd just make it a little bit more ooh to the sport.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one as well. I like that one. I thought you were going to turn around and be like they're jumping over like a pool of piranhas or something like that.
I know I've not gone quite that level yet. Um, but you haven't heard the next one yet. So, so have you got anything else around athletics or?
Okay, well, I've got Olympic sports.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so I've got fencing.
Okay, yeah.
Right now, I think if I'm right with the terminology, I think it's called the piste is the thing that they fight on.
Possibly. I'm going to say
I think that's
yes.
what
I
they're
think
called.
it is. Yeah.
Right, so I think we scrap that, we put it in arena, and they can fight wherever they want. So they're fighting up the stairs next to the audience. They're fighting across the judges, and it's just whoever scores the first point. But you can go wherever you like. If you
So
want to
like
run
a good
away, run
pirate
away.
film, like a
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
swinging from the chandeliers. So yeah,
yeah,
put chandeliers up here and there. Yeah.
yeah. It's basically Jack Sparrow madness at the
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. I like that.
Because then I
Yeah.
feel like it becomes tactical. Imagine blocking with a woman in the audience, or a bloke in the audience, or the judge.
Yeah, or they've got to have random staircases, so one will be fighting back, backing up the stairs, and the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
is
or
going up the
you
stairs.
put
Yeah,
put them in like a Have you ever watched that like Extreme Tag or whatever it's called,
yeah,
where they're
yeah,
like jumping
yeah.
around? You put them in an arena like that, so all of a sudden one of them's jumping and leaping over a barrier while he's plunging at someone. I'm making all these gestures again, like
Yeah, I
everybody
was
can
gonna say
see me.
people can't see, but me and Lou are actually fencing each
Yeah,
other
we're
through the
fencing each
screen.
other through our
Yeah,
screens. But yeah, you've got somebody like diving over a steel bar to turn around and poke someone in the chest. I think that would be amazingly entertaining.
I like that. Yeah, that's the word. Entertaining actually is spot on.
Don't get me wrong. I think fencing is actually really quite. I think if you sit down and watch fencing, it's actually a brilliant sport. But I think that takes it top tier. That takes it top tier. I do have one more for fencing,
Oh, go
but
on
this
then.
one's
Go.
pretty basic, and this is just no protective gear. A lot more on the line.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
of a sudden, you're like, I actually can't get stabbed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit more 1500s, I guess.
When I saw a picture of fencing, couldn't think of anything because all I thought when I saw it was lightsabers. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe give them lightsabers and they've got to do the sound effects. And the point is also based on if you've made the better sound effects when you're swinging it. Maybe it's not just the point, but if you've done a really good vroom sound effect, you get an extra point. Uh,
You're just like, right, like your lightsabers, like whoosh.
I wasn't going to say this one because I think this must have been after a drink, this one, but I've got javelin and I've got, yeah, no, I've committed now. You either put, and it's also, there'll be then a constructor's bit to this, but you can make a little engine that you attach to it.
To propel your javelin.
Yeah, or you can add like a couple of wings to it to make it more streamlined. Now this one I really haven't thought about it, but can you imagine you can build an engine that can last for, I don't know, like 5 seconds. So you're gonna have people that could be quite creative with it, or you can add fins to it. But yeah, I thought, how can we make javelin a bit more dangerous? And well, I'm thinking obviously you'd probably have to do it outside the stadium, but I was thinking, yeah, what could you do to really jazz it up? Got one more. Have you got any more Olympics kind of things? Or
Yeah, I've got
go on,
one
go
more
for it.
Olympics now. This is for shooting and archery.
Okay,
Now,
yeah, yeah,
I think that obviously what you've got to do is you've got to score a point in the very middle of the target, don't you? But
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that that's a little bit weak because if you miss, there's nothing that yeah, okay, you've lost your chance and it's been your 4 years. I think that the coaches should be confident in the athletes that they've produced. So I think what you do is with the archery and with the shooting, you go and tie the coach to the target, and the objective is to shoot the target but not hit the coach.
Like put the apple on his head.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, you turn around and say, "Right, you've pinned him." And again, I'm making more gestures. I'm
Yeah,
like I look like the
yeah,
Vitruvian
yeah.
Man, Da
And I just
Vinci's
put an
son.
apple on my head
Yeah,
as well. Yeah,
you did put an apple on your head.
because you don't know where my head
Yeah,
is or
yeah.
what an apple is. Yes. Yeah,
And what you do is you pin them to the board, and you get the most points if you don't hit the instructor and land all your shots. And that can be for shooting and for archery. And then your instructor, he's never going to let you compete if he's not confident in you. So you only get the best of the best athletes competing.
I like that, and that's what the Olympics should be, right? The best of the best.
Exactly, absolutely, absolutely. That's why we should let everybody take drugs.
Yeah, and then do that. Yeah. Um, yeah. I thought you were going to go along the lines of maybe make it more into like a Nerf gun competition or something. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, no. I was way more dangerous than that. Way more dangerous than that.
I like it. Bit squeamish. You might have to have it on a delay.
But let's be honest. Is it any more dangerous than the luge or the skeleton?
Well, you're strapping someone to a target and asking them to shoot projectile arrows at them.
Yeah, but they are professionals, though. They should they should know what they're doing.
Blindfold them. I had marathons, which they do have that in the Olympics, but generally I thought, marathons are like in the streets of a city and that. I had tried and make it a bit more realistic. So as you're running around, you might have cats and dogs running around, like a bit of dog shit here or there, empty pizza boxes, drunk people staggering around. Things like that, like Uber drivers sort of zigzagging in and out of them, because maybe obviously you've got to keep traffic off the road, but maybe you keep Uber drivers or couriers going when you've got the London Marathon. Do you know what I mean? Make it a bit more real. You're running in a city, otherwise put them in a stadium.
Yeah, you've got cyclists. Yeah, just
Yeah,
randomly like running lights.
yeah. People walking their dogs on those long leads. Those retractable leads. Yeah, make it a little bit more like real life. People hooting them or something, ringing bells on their cycles as they're trying to get past them, weaving in and out.
I like that one as well. It would make London Marathon even more funny if you had people dressed up as dinosaurs and Mr. Blobby all of a sudden having to dodge Uber drivers, dog
Yeah,
walkers, and cyclists.
Yeah, that was it. And, avoiding like beer bottles and pizza boxes, and I'm not saying that's what the streets of London are like, but yeah, pizza boxes and empty beer bottles everywhere.
Yeah, maybe you just do it. Maybe you do the London Marathon at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, 12 o'clock after kicking out time at the pubs. Yeah,
You just got drunk stumbling in the middle of the track.
or running alongside you. Who are you? I don't know. I saw you running. I joined in.
That reminds me again of that video that did the rounds on Twitter where it was a guy who turned around and he was just like, "How did I come out of a rave and end up in a marathon?" And he's just like off of his head running down the street with everybody that's got a number on it.
Brilliant, brilliant. Oh dear, yeah. So that was it. I've only got a couple more different sports actually. I'm going to drop a couple because we've kind of alluded to them. But did you have any more in the Olympic stroke athletic world?
I don't think so. So I'll let you. I'll let you take over.
Actually, you had one months and months ago. I remember when, because this all stemmed from I sent you a random text. Something sparked my thing about changing football. Not even thinking of it as a podcast, and then you sent something back to me. I'm pretty certain it was you about the Olympics, but you don't have trained athletes. You get
Oh
drafted
yeah,
in.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it. So
Oh my
say
god,
it.
that
Go
was
on.
the
Yeah,
one. Right.
that was
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Olympics, I cannot believe I've not remembered that.
I
So
thought
with
you were going to say it. I thought.
with the Olympics, what you do is everyone obviously gets a team, and everyone has to compete in every event.
Yeah.
Every nation that wants to compete in the Olympics has to compete in every event. But what they do is they do a national lottery, and everybody that's on like a polling register in the country, they just pick people out. So you go on BBC News, and they're just like, and now we're drawing for curling. And
Yeah.
now we're drawing for athletics. And they just pick a name, and they're like, Dave 34
Yeah.
from Essex. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Dave 34 from Essex has to do a triple loop-de-doop triple
Yeah.
spin twist in an in a gymnastics
Yeah.
circuit or whatever.
Bob the Builder from Basildon does like the equestrian sport. Yeah, that was it. So basically, everyone is eligible. It's kind of like a fancy jury service where you could be picked for anything.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
imagine if
I like
you're
that.
even a little bit fit, you're probably going to win.
Yeah, think of all the untapped talent that could be found by doing this. I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, just anyone and everyone. You open it up, and the whole nation is eligible and will be picked to be in a sport. Brilliant,
It's like the
brilliant.
Hunger Games, but you'd want to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I had to make sure we said that because
Yeah.
I thought that was a great one at the
I think
time.
that. Do you know what it is as well? I think that's genuinely about giving the Olympics back to the people as well.
Yeah, literally, literally. All right, I've got a quick one. I've got one for darts, right?
Right.
And again, it's involved spinning, and I think the board spins around. The
Oh
board
yeah, I
rotates.
really
Yeah.
you've got a real obsession with stuff spinning or rotating, but I actually really like that one.
Well, well, I took two out of these. I initially had you could blindfold them, the dart players, or you could, if they lost the leg, they took a shot. But I thought better of that with darts, so I put the shot taking into snooker.
That's because they
But
just,
yeah,
again, like we
so
said, they just do it, don't they?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the dartboard is spinning around. It doesn't have to be going like crazy fast. It could be just rotating at a nice pace. But yeah, that's going to mix it up. That's going to mix it up a bit. 'Cause then they have to start working out trajectory and like speed of the board, etc. Yeah, spin that wheel round, that board round.
Yeah, what's it called? Where in that Modern Warfare mission, was it the Coriolis effect?
Yes,
That's what all of a sudden darts players, not only being 16 pints deep, hitting a board from however many feet away you have to stand. Now the board spins.
because can you imagine? Because they are going, and I love, I absolutely love darts. So I'm not saying it's boys, but I love darts. But they're always going for the 20, and then if that gets blocked, they're going down for the 19s, and then for the checkouts, it's either tops or it's double 16, etc., etc. But if you're spinning the board round, the person keeping the score, he's gonna have to earn his money a bit more. So yeah, spinning the dartboard. I've got.
I actually really like that one. I'd probably watch darts with that rule.
There we go. You've heard it here. You've heard it here.
Have you got any more?
I've got one more sport. I think that's of slight difference. I've got Formula One racing.
Oh my god, Formula One! Formula One was difficult because I could only think of sensible things that I'd like to change about Formula One to actually make it interesting again. So I was like, get rid of DRS, but then I realised in the context of what we were talking about, I was like, that's got to be a shit point, isn't it? I was like, how fucking boring.
I've got yeah, and so like we said, this isn't about necessarily improve. This is about some fun ideas for sports. So I've got again, this is pretty
Speed
much
bumps.
actually, yeah.
You just get a 200-mile-an-hour straight, and it's just a fucking speed bump in the middle of the track.
Traffic lights and a zebra crossing. Roundabouts for those over here. Yeah, roundabouts in the English one. Yeah, roundabout.
Yeah.
No,
Oh my god.
I've got it's in a similarish vein to football, but I've got, at the moment, like they drive for a team, don't they? They'll drive for
Yeah.
McLaren or Ferrari. I think of it almost like Deal or No Deal. The drivers rock up to the circuit, they pick a number, and that's the car they get assigned to.
Is that per every race or every season?
Every race.
Yeah, I like that.
So you could still have a constructors tournament, right? Because if you've got the best car, because there's always that argument between it's a car, no, it's a driver. Well, if you're a great driver, you can prove it in a car that's deemed to be
A
less
little bit
powerful.
inferior. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And if you're a good manufacturer, then if
Everybody
your
should
car,
do all right in your cars.
yeah. So basically,
Yeah.
every circuit, the drivers rock up, they pick a number, and they get assigned to the car, and then they
Yeah.
still have to go through qualifying, etc. It's just literally you no longer drive for a team. You are yourself, and you're helping teams every other week.
And you know what? With the changes coming into F1, because they've introduced like a spending cap, haven't they? Right? This could actually work because all they do is in terms of driver salaries, they standardize all the driver salaries and say you are in F1, you make X amount of £1 million per year. Every team contributes the same amount, and you get a drive in one car every
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, or they could rotate it each race. But I like the idea of the kind of like Deal or No Deal boxes. You pick a number, or a lotto, or like the football. You start so whoever's at the bottom of the drivers list picks first, and then it goes that way up. You could do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically, I'm
yeah.
trying to get drivers out of a set team. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
mix
yeah.
up.
Or again, to make it more competitive, what you do is the driver that wins the championship one year picks last the next year.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
do that.
I like
I
that.
I just think it's that classic, and there are so many arguments about, oh well, he couldn't do it in that car, or it's only because he's driving that car. Well, this will prove it. This will prove it. And the other one, it'll be a fitting one to finish because again, it was another silly one. But I was trying to make it more like Mario Kart, so where they could pick up power, like a what is it, the shells or something? But you'd have to make it a bit more realistic. But yeah, where they every now and then would get assigned like a weapon or something.
An oil slick.
Yeah, an oil slick. It could be something that like an EMP that takes out the car next to them just for 2 seconds, something like that. Gives you a nitrous boost for a couple of seconds, or you stop them talking to their team, or everyone has to go down. So you've got like 5 seconds where you can just drive down the center of the track unimpeded. Something like that. Make Formula One like
Fun again.
Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing. Yeah. And that's where I end. I mean, I had like American football. Actually, sorry, was trying to think American football. And the only thing I was thinking was if like a team was so far ahead, they would then have to play with, I don't know, like greased gloves or something, which made it harder for them to catch the ball if they're attacking. Something like that.
See, but do you know what we've done really in this episode? We've just tried to make sport more fair, is what
Yeah,
we've tried to do.
yeah.
I think we tried to make sport more fair. And do you know what it is? I think that's what the problem is. When it comes to F1, we know that Mercedes are going to dominate a season. We know that Manchester City are going to dominate the football. Do you know what I mean? It's all of these things. And I feel like we've actually had some pretty plausible ones that we should pitch. So if the FIA want to come to us, if the FA want to come to us, if who oversees boxing? I don't know what their like regulatory body
The
is.
the International Boxing Commission, let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
them.
something like that.
Yeah.
The World Anti-Doping Agency, we need to have them abolished.
Sky Sports, you want to come get our ideas? Yeah, we'll sit on a panel for you. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that we had some banging ideas. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think that we'll have to sign that off. An hour and 8 minutes of improving sports from all around the world. If you do have any suggestions for how you'd improve sports, if you're listening to this, because there's probably plenty that you can think of, even if it's something a bit more obscure like extreme frisbee, I don't know how you'd make it more exciting. Setting the frisbee on fire, maybe setting
Oh,
the
I did.
people. I don't know.
Oh, I did have. It was a boring one in terms of suggestion. I did have golf tournaments could be replaced with crazy golf.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
just got Tiger
basically.
Woods,
Yeah,
Tiger
yeah,
Woods going and playing crazy golf, like spinning windmills and
yeah,
like.
yeah. Let's see how good you really are. Yeah.
Love
Oh,
that
sorry,
one
that
as
was it.
well.
Yeah.
Love that one as well. But yeah, if you've got any ideas for how you'd improve any sports that you're particularly fond of, hit us up with a tweet or pop us an email at castingviewspod@gmail.com. Oh, God, that was a terrible, terrible saying that was. But I won't mess up the next bit because I'm thinking about it before I say it now as well.
That's the problem now.
So, with what we'll do is we'll leave you, as always, by saying we know that there's many podcasts from which you could choose. So we thank you for listening to Casting Views.